Welcome to the Better Business Podcast. I'm your host, Austin Zelan. Join me week after week as I interview high-level entrepreneurs on their journey to success, both in business and personal development. Each week presents new stories to learn from and new ideas on how to run a better business. Stay updated with all the guests we'll have by subscribing to this podcast. Welcome to Better Business with Austin Zelan. On today's episode, we have special guest Rich Fiola. We're going to talk about social media marketing. We're going to talk about ad agencies and exactly what it takes to scale a business using advertising. So, Rich, very excited to have you here today. Thanks for coming out. And I wanted to ask you to give us a bit of a background on your entrepreneurial journey and what brought you to this space specifically. Like, what makes you passionate about it? Tell us about that realization. Maybe you weren't always an entrepreneur, but when did that realization happen and how did it progress to where you are today?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Austin. So I started in the marketing world by going door to door.
Okay.
And I was selling windows and roofing and a lot of different upgrades for homeowners. And I first made my first six figures in my early 20s, just knocking doors. And I was doing well with that. I went up into management at my company and grew the revenue of the business from like 30 million to like 50 million just from leading the door-to-door department. And then my dad's like, hey, you want to get married, you want to have kids, like you probably need like a different job. You can't be knocking doors the rest of your life. So I decided to become a financial advisor. And as a financial advisor, I realized they had all these outdated marketing tactics. Like we would invite these retirees to dinner seminars and, give them a nice Ruth Chris dinner and try to convince them to invest with us. And I thought there's got to be a better way to get leads and get appointments for my financial practice. So I started researching how to run Facebook ads, social media ads, Google ads. And I started to see some success from that, getting clients as investor clients. And then some of those investor clients wanted me to run their ads for their business because I had a lot of business owner clients. So I was running ads for dentists, mortgage brokers, realtors. And I had one solar company that I was working with among other companies. And we saw their revenue triple in 1 year. And so I started to see, wow, this solar industry is really up and coming. It's a growing energy space, growing industry. And I thought, hey, why don't I have my wife just create a logo? I came up with the name Solar Exclusive off the top of my head. And we sent out an ad through our Facebook expertise and got 20 solar clients that wanted us to get leads for them all over the country in 1 month. And immediately I was like overwhelmed with the amount of work that I had to do, like starting this little fledgling business on the side of my normal 9 to 5. And I realized that this was probably a better business model than what I was doing currently because the financial advising industry is kind of like going away from using personal financial advisors, more like artificial intelligence and robo-advisors. And so I thought, hey, this marketing space in the solar industry looked really promising. And so we started full-time in that. My goal was originally just to make an extra 5 or 10 grand a month so my wife could quit her job and I would stay as a financial advisor. But it just blew up so fast that we just gave full focus to it and grew the business to about 50 to 100 grand a month. But I was working like 16 to 18 hour days and 100-hour weeks and it was grueling. And so I decided to hire some other team members and we scaled to about 300 grand a month. And then I was still working these 16 to 18-hour days and it was just really stressful. It got to the point where I wasn't eating right. I wasn't sleeping right. I was just overwhelmed with work. I was a workaholic and I ended up in the hospital because my health just went down the tube. And I spent a week in the hospital just like getting fluids and like eating right and like getting my, mental focus back because I was so exhausted from lack of sleep and lack of nutrition. And I came back to my business and opened my laptop to start work. And I got that dreaded alert from Facebook in 2019, which was your business is shut down. You can't run ads. You can't do this anymore. Facebook's very strict with their policies. Now we were following all of their policies as far as the advertisements go, but our clients' credit cards would often decline because we were working with contractors, solar companies, and they had cash flow issues. And about 10% of our clients' cards would decline every day. And like when that happens consistently on Facebook's platform, they'll just shut you down. So our whole business got shut down. We lost 120 clients in 1 day. And then I had to really think about how I was going to restructure my business. and restructure it so that I didn't have to work these crazy hours and, build it back from nothing. And so I created this new process where I took the ideas from the financial advising world and applied it to my ad agency, where I hired salespeople to be account managers, where I gave them a portfolio of clients and their own book of business, and they would get paid a residual commission for how long those clients stayed on board. And this was like the radical shift that I made and what I teach my students that are agency owners in my ad advisory program, that basically to build a team that has a residual compensation structure so that it gets all the work off of the founder's plate. So they're not doing sales, they're not doing customer service, they're not getting overwhelmed with client delivery and fulfillment. And so that we could build a more stable business. And so we went from 0 to 2 million per month in 1 year, and then 2 million to 4 million per month the year after that. And we've never looked back. And now I'm helping other agency owners how to get out of that grind of those, 100-hour work weeks and build a really stable business. And I only work like 10 to 15 hours a week now, focus mostly on the coaching now.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I love that. I think that's a really great transition that you made. And it sounds like you're really passionate about helping other people, achieve the results that you have with ads and agencies and all that stuff. So tell us a little bit more about that business that you're talking about, Advisory.
Yeah, it's ad-visory.com. Essentially, it's an opportunity for agencies to work with me one-on-one on getting them to their first $1 million month. So we talk about a lot of different strategies, building the right team, structuring actual revenue generating systems, because a lot of ad agencies, they have all these systems for their back-end fulfillment, the client delivery, all these things. They're really smart with ads and with setting up client campaigns and getting results, but they're not really smart when it comes to just business fundamentals and like how to create systems for revenue generation.
Yeah.
So we really focus on growth, sales training, team building, culture building, and coming up with like these unorthodox ways to run an ad agency. Because like normally ad agencies, generally speaking, they will work with a client and the client will give them access to their Facebook pages or their YouTube channels, their business manager where all the ads are housed with Facebook or Google. And like the agencies just kind of add it on and does the work within their accounts. But the problem with this model that most agencies use is that with one click of a button, the client can just remove them and take all of their work, steal it, and never pay them again. And so what we decided to do was train people on how to build their own business around doing everything in their accounts and having the clients pay them their ad spend upfront.
Yeah.
And then put all the ad spend on the agency's credit card, get all those points, plus just secure the ad spend as like a revenue generating expense. So we charge like a 5% compliance fee on all of the ad spend that we collect. Plus we get the credit card points. So we actually turn the ad spend that most agencies aren't even profiting off of into a profit generating expense. And then building that team around the account management team to grow the sales. It's kind of like a franchise model, basically, where I have all these different salespeople that are account managers, but they all have like their own business underneath mine. So it's kind of like has our agency as like the main brand, and then all these little franchisees underneath that are building their own business. And that model can really scale you fast. It's how we went from 0 to 2 million in 1 month, in 1 year, I should say.
Yeah.
Which is just massive growth because we had a revenue generating system. So that's what we teach agencies how to build and structure.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that. I think that's really great. And that's a very unique way to do it. I wonder if you could do that in other businesses as well, where you have like this umbrella company or umbrella brand that's very well known. You're spending money on those ads, and then people are coming in as like franchisees and they have their own location or their own business or whatever, but it's still connected to you. So they benefit off of that. And yeah, I love the ad spend idea where they're paying up front and you guys are collecting the points and all that stuff. It protects you as well. You're not having those same issues with Facebook with, declines and stuff like that. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And also, it works for any service-based business, any done-for-you business. So we have a client in the advisory program named Cole Gordon, who's pretty well known in the agency space. Cole, you've probably seen all of his ads. So when he came to us, he was at about 150 grand a month in his done-for-you business. Now, he doesn't have an ad agency. He has a sales recruiting and sales training company. So we helped him implement these revenue generating systems, and he went from 150 grand a month to over 3.5 million per month. Now he's just blown up and everyone knows him because of a lot of the conversations we originally had and my coaching with him, taking him to that level. So it can work for other businesses other than ad agencies. Like for instance, a service-based business like a roofer, for instance, could restructure their sales team instead of having all their salespeople just go from one house to another to sell a roof.
Yeah.
Why not just give your salespeople a book of business where they have they get a lower upfront commission, which incentivizes them to close more deals. And then they get a residual commission for maintaining the relationships with their clients and then getting referrals from those client base. Most roofers, what they do is they go and they put up the roof, they get a picture, get a review, and then they're on to the next customer. But what if you built a relationship, a long-lasting relationship with the sales rep and that homeowner, and then, touch base with them every month, see how they're doing, how the roof's holding up, how their energy bills have reduced because of the energy efficient roofing that they put in, and then generating referrals off of that. It's going to triple your sales basically overnight by just having your sales team have a different focus where it's not just about sales and making the next sale. Mm-hmm. It's also about taking care of the customers, customer service, and building long-lasting partnerships.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that. I think that's really, really great. So as part of this, this model that you have, do you do any sort of mindset training? I know for me personally in my business, mindset has been a huge, huge part of it. And we want to make sure that, we have a strong business mindset, and we're also working to improve that, to make sure that we're consistently growing and, creating value for our clients and all that stuff. I think that starts with mindset. So what kind of mindset training do you have in your organization?
Yeah. So on a regular basis, we're doing mindset training with our sales team every single week, just focusing on the way we talk about things, because we try to just eliminate all negativity in all of our meetings.
Yeah.
Like, I really don't want to tolerate like complaining and stuff like that, where sales reps get down and they get into ruts and stuff like that. So we are always, implementing kind of like 30 minutes before work and 30 minutes at the end of the day, just like really recalibrating our mind and just forcing ourselves to think abundantly and think that there's going to be success, this day or this week or this month or this quarter. And just really kind of drilling into the team members, just having that positive mental attitude. Because I think when there's salespeople, some are naturally optimistic and it's really easy for them to do that. I mean, there's some that are naturally pessimistic. But I found that some of the pessimistic ones are some of the best performers because they're always stressed and they're always like trying to achieve, and they don't know if they can actually hit their numbers. So it actually, every month they're starting fresh again and like having to force themselves to think positive. So I think that there's, a lot of work that has to be done with those people that tend to be on the pessimistic side. Like I'm kind of that way. Like I'm not naturally optimistic by nature. So I have to do a lot of work focusing on, the bright side of life and focusing on the fact that like, hey, if I had a bad day or a bad week or a bad quarter, we're going to turn it around and make it better. And just that consistent meditation, consistent prayer, I'm a man of faith and just always trusting in God that he's going to get us through that next level in business, so that we can make an impact on the lives that we change. We've done a lot of work overseas where I've built over 400 churches in Asia and done a lot of humanitarian aid work. And that's like my why, just like focusing on my why. Like I want to take care of my family, like that's primary, but also I want to take care of families overseas that like, don't have nearly as much blessing as we do in this country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. I mean, the Bible even says that God gives us power to make wealth. So it starts there. And, if you follow biblical principles in business, it tends to work out. So
yeah, exactly. It's like that verse in the Proverbs says like, he who waters others will like have his field watered himself, It's like, that's my philosophy when it comes to giving back.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, let's pivot a little bit to artificial intelligence. You did mention it just a little bit, but I wanted to dig in a little bit deeper and see if there's any AI applications that you found in your business. I know in my business, it's totally transformed how we do some things. And we've been able to not necessarily replace people quite yet. I do think that's coming in the future, where we'll have AI CEOs and CFOs and all that stuff. And it'll be cool to see a company just totally run by AI. But I've been able to make some processes very efficient. Including like on the lead gen side, we're able to nurture leads using AI and all that stuff. So we can totally cut out part of the sales team to where the closers are very, very efficient because AI is doing all the heavy lifting for them. So have you found any application of AI in your company? And if so, what is it?
Yeah, absolutely. So great question. I think for ad agencies, there's this real risk of leaning too much on AI, almost to the point where it becomes like a shiny object. So many ad agency owners that I know have just given up their ad agency. Like I spoke to one at a mastermind about 6 months ago. He said he was struggling in his ad agency. So he decided to shut down his ad agency, which was having a pretty good amount of success. Instead of scaling that business that was already established, he started an AI training company. And now he's struggling even more because, there's a lot of people who are taking advantage of AI, but the space is getting so competitive that it's hard to really stand out.
So do you think it's more competitive than like an ad agency? Because that space is pretty competitive too.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I think that if he just used his knowledge of AI to improve his ad agency and just focus on his business that was already, moderately successful, he could have scaled that business a lot more. Because like now he's just getting like, selling a low ticket product, whereas before he was having high ticket recurring revenue with his ad agency. But I think that there's a lot of tools that are great for ad agencies to use. Like one that we use is a platform called deal.ai. It's a really good system for creating different, we'll write some of the copy ourselves and then send it through there, and it'll just like optimize it based on, SEO trends or based on, Facebook ads that are converting well. And it just kind of like
gives it a copywriting tool.
Yeah, it gives it like that extra edge.
Nice.
And it generates like really high converting ad images as well, which is great. That's awesome. We also use it to nurture leads, like you were saying. So when we generate leads for solar professionals or roofing professionals or any home service professional in our ad agency, we'll have it go through to our CRM and we'll have AI book the appointments, because sometimes the clients are pretty lazy at calling their leads. Like they're not as successful as other clients. Some clients crush it. They do great. They have great systems. Some clients are lazy. They don't call the leads when they come in right away. They don't work them properly. So the AI assistant has been really helpful in just getting more of those leads to convert to appointments and then convert to sales for the companies. Yeah. So we've used it a lot.
That's awesome. Do you have any like data? Maybe you don't, but do you have any data on how much more effective AI is at converting some of those leads to booked appointments versus a person?
Yeah, it's not quite there yet.
Okay.
It's not quite there yet. So we have like a call center that we use in our ad agency with just like regular people calling on the phone, telemarketing, and that still converts better. But there's some people who just prefer text, like they're not going to pick up the phone. So we end up getting those people through AI, but a lot of the people that wouldn't set through AI are generally going to set through an old-fashioned phone call. So we find that it depends on the demographic. We notice that with younger individuals, AI is converting really well, but with older ones, they're not really as comfortable giving personal information over text message.
Yeah, they want a phone call.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it totally makes sense. So have you seen it increase your company's revenue at all? Like using AI tools or any form of AI, have you seen an impact on revenue yet, or is it just too early?
It's definitely impacted us. It's helped, just get things done faster and more efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say that it's like boosted our revenue tremendously. It really comes down to, for our clients, are they getting results? Are they making a return on investment with their advertising?
Yeah.
And it definitely helps those clients who need that next extra nudge to like set their appointments properly. And it does convert to more sales. But I can't say like, how much of that is just strictly from AI, because it's not like a fair split test where it's just like, oh, this is all AI and this is all non-AI. It's kind of like merged together. So it's kind of hard to decipher what the results are based on just a client doing their efforts or our call center versus AI. I know that we can look at the conversion metrics of how many appointments are set, and AI is not there yet, but that doesn't mean that it's not converting to more sales, because more appointments, there's always going to be more sales. So it's definitely assisting in some way, but I don't know if we're at the point yet where it's just like, all right, well, AI is just going to run our ads for us and write all the perfect copy and all those things. Like, I think there still has to be a human element. I think the humans still have to teach the AI how to think properly and execute properly. I don't know if we'll ever get to the point where it's just like, oh, just press a button and it's done. It's possible, but I think we're probably a little far out from that. We actually had a big thing that happened in the solar industry recently, where there was this company that was like an AI voice assistant, where it was setting appointments over the phone.
Yeah.
And a bunch of solar professionals hired this company to do that. And they bought a bunch of like cold call data and just started like pounding these phones, like millions and millions of numbers at once. And it got to the point where this AI company, like their Twilio account got shut down, and like the AI was so strong and was so effective. But the unfortunate thing was that people were complaining because they shouldn't have been called. They were on the national do not call list. So like they were doing illegal stuff with like the numbers they were calling. And I think it's only a matter of time before someone gets taken advantage of by AI, or a string of people get taken advantage of by AI, and the government just intervenes and like shuts it down. Like I don't want to rely too much on AI because of that reason. Because people are always saying like, well, eventually like AI is just going to be your salesperson. Like you could just have someone over the phone selling that's an AI assistant rather than an actual salesperson. They're going to do better than a normal salesperson. Well, the problem with that is like once someone gets taken advantage of, it's like game over. Like, you know, this artificial intelligence technology is so smart and so strong that if it manipulates human beings and like rips them off and scams them, it's only a matter before the government's going to get involved. And they already are. So like there's this law that was just initiated. It gets fully realized in 2025. But unless you have express written consent from a consumer, you can't use artificial voice technology to contact them. So it's not like people are just going to be able to buy old lead lists and just like hit these with AI. It's not going to be able to happen. You're going to have to generate the lead the old fashioned way, get written consent, and
written
then
consent
use AI.
That it's specifically going to be AI contacting them?
Yeah, I would have to specify that it's either AI or robo-dial technology.
Yeah.
It affects robo-dialers too. So any call centers are going to be impacted. They're not going to be able to buy old lead lists and just like throw them into a dialer.
Wow.
They're going to have to get, you know, exclusive one-to-one opt-in consent online.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, that's cool. So, I mean, it's a very interesting landscape that's in front of us. And I love to see the different things that are happening in the AI world. And actually, even like years ago, I don't remember, maybe like 5, 6, 7 years ago, I was thinking that, you know, when AI gets to a certain point, it's going to be indistinguishable from a person. So like you said, if it calls you and it's speaking like a human and it reacts like a human, responds and has logical reasoning, like at what point are we not going to even know if it's a human or not calling us? And can then this AI be trained to be more effective than a human? Because humans make mistakes. But if you train AI in a wide array of situations on what the customer might say, you're right, it could be more effective than a salesperson. So I'm curious to see what kind of regulation is going to come out around that. But it seems like for now it's fairly similar to like actual just cold calling. You know, you have to have consent and opt in and all that stuff. It's cool. It's cool to see what's happening.
Yeah. So like right now, what's currently the law is that if you call someone with artificial voice technology, within the first 10 seconds, you have to tell them this is artificial intelligence. So not many people are following that. You know, they're just using it to make sales or set appointments and stuff like that from old lead lists.
Yeah.
But I think definitely, you know, with this new FCC law that's pending now that I just mentioned, the government's going to get more and more involved in this. And if people aren't compliant, actually this new law is written in such a way that they've given the carriers like T-Mobile, AT&T, you know, Verizon, the authority to just block companies from like being able to dial anyone with no repercussions for doing so.
Wow.
So like if you have a call center, if you have any kind of, you know, telemarketing that you're doing over the phone or over text and it's using AI and you're not being compliant, like they basically give carte blanche to these carriers to just block businesses. Like they'll route it to your EIN number, just block you from being able to contact anyone. So I think there's a huge risk in like companies not being compliant. That's why we're really kind of pioneering in our industry, in the solar industry, doing things more ethically, you know, following compliance, you know, because we've reached in our business a pretty high level of success. And like now we kind of have to like not always do everything that we used to do like 5 years ago. You know, we have to like be by the book and do everything compliantly. And a lot of our solar energy clients are really thankful for that.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to risk their company either in doing, you know, things that are not by the book. So
yeah, it's not worth it. Not worth all that risk. So at this point in time, what are you guys doing per month in revenue? Gross revenue?
Yeah. So gross revenue, we're about 4.2 to 4.6 on any given month.
Okay.
The seasonality changes in the like holidays. A lot of solar companies just kind of like dial back their marketing.
Yeah.
So we fluctuate, you know, go down by like 15 to 18% in the holiday season, like November, December, but it always ramps back up in the new year because everyone wants new lead providers, increasing their ad spend, stuff like that.
Awesome.
And then a number of our students have reached over $1 million a month too, that we've trained on our ad agency process at Advisory. And, a lot of agencies come to us, they're at 20,000 a month, 50,000 a month, 100 grand a month. The amazing thing is, like, once you start converting the ad spend to revenue, it starts to become a really substantial amount. Yeah. So about half of what we collect every month is ad spend. So about 2 million of that, 4.5 million or so, is ad spend. And then the rest is all our marketing fees, our retainer fees. So even still, like, being at 2.5 million a month in just retainers is pretty substantial. Like, not many agencies get to that point. Yeah, so we teach them on how to build those revenue generating systems so that they can get their agency to 100 grand a month quickly, 500 grand a month, $1 million a month, because that's really the goal for us. We call our program the $1 million a month blueprint, because we want to help agency owners get to that level. And most of the other agency coaches that exist in the market, they're not even still running their agency. Like, they got to a point where they reached some level of success and they're like, you know what, I can make more money coaching. And they kind of give up on their ad agency. One famous guy, he said that the only way he was able to reach $1 million a month was by having multiple companies. And in his ad agency, he had to have, like, really big clients. So I kind of took him to task on my Instagram, said, like, basically, well, I got to 4 million a month and I work with small business owner clients. I don't need multiple companies, just one ad agency, and we've reached that level. So I think it depends on, like, what coach you're willing to hire, because if someone's only reached 7 figures in their business or 8 figures in their business, you really need to talk to someone who's reached 9 figures if you want to get to that level. There's a lot of agency coaches out there who they built their agency to like 20 grand a month and they started coaching and now they're making a couple $100 grand a month, but like they never really scaled their agency to where a lot of their students want to go. So why would you take their advice as far as scaling an agency, especially when all of their information is going to get outdated because they're not running their agency anymore? So we do deep dives with our students on like the stuff that we're doing right now in our agency. What's working right now? How are we, maintaining this type of revenue? Because in the last 5 years, we haven't been under 2 million a month. Like we've been consistent over the last 5 years. And I haven't really coached until recently. Over the last 2 or 3 years, like I have Alex Hormozy as a student, like he joined my program, Joel Irway, Rob Bailey, a lot of these agency and marketing coaches like have joined my program originally. And I've only been coaching for a little while now because I've had my head down scaling my agency and working, on my agency. And now a lot of people don't know who I am because, I've never really built a personal brand. Like I'm starting that process. But my agency is kind of established now where I'm only working 10 to 15 hours a week. I've promoted my team to kind of take over daily operations. And now I can focus on my coaching. And so, people always said like, oh yeah, I remember Hormozy was mentioning your name on his podcast. Like I never heard, who is this guy? Like I've never heard of him and he couldn't find me online, because I was just running my agency. So now I'm trying to build that up and show people, I've helped some of these people in the past grow, their mindset in how they could grow a really big business. And we want to help other ad agencies get there too.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, hey, if I had an ad agency, I would definitely hire you as my coach.
Yeah.
Sounds like you know what you're talking about. So no, that's really cool. So one final question as we wrap up here. Have you ever hired an outside consultant to come help you improve your business? Because, some of the people watching, they may already have a successful business, but maybe they've plateaued and they want to take it to the next level. They want to improve their business. So there's many different ways you could do that. But have you personally ever hired like a consulting team or consultants to come in and help you get to that next level, maybe in just one area of your business?
Really, it goes back to that mindset thing. So you asked about mindset earlier. I have a performance coach that we've really heavily focused on mindset. We focus on goal setting. We focus on accountability, on like really mapping out what we're going to do for the next quarter, for the next year, what our 5-year plan is, and then just putting together goalposts on things that we need to do to achieve that. And then they just keep me accountable and keep my mindset in check. So a performance coach for me, it's kind of like a life coach or like a therapist, but for business, Just
business therapist.
Business therapist, yeah. So she's been like immensely helpful for me. But for any business owner, maybe they don't have an ad agency, I'm launching a video newsletter for any business owner. And it's at 9figuresecrets.com. Just kind of showing a lot of these mindset hacks that I've implemented, a lot of these business fundamental things that can apply to any business. It's super cheap. It's like $9 a week. And I send you a 9-minute video kind of outlining different topics every week. And it's great for any business owner. It could be someone who owns a small mom and pop, brick and mortar store. It could be for someone who has an online business. It could be for any entrepreneur at all. So that's a nice little minimal investment, $9 a week, just to like get these like snippets of, pure business consulting gold, to take and apply to their business. So that's at ninefiguresecrets.com.
Awesome. That's cool. Yeah, I like that. I mean, I think there's great value in performance coaches and all that stuff because sometimes you just don't know what you don't know, and what I've found personally is that no matter how much research and how much studying and how much experience you have, when you hire a mentor, it's not because you want to copy them exactly. But in my experience, it's always been like one or two things from each person that I'm just like, wow, that's really great. I want to take that away and use that in my business. And it's never like a full picture type of thing. So I totally agree with you on that. And that's why I think there's a need for multiple. You have multiple people in your life and you have multiple people counseling you on the different things. And I think that's what creates a strong team. You have multiple perspectives. And I like to bring in people from diverse backgrounds, because they just naturally think different than me. If they had a different childhood or upbringing or different traditions in their life, they're going to think differently than I think. And they can even reason through problems in a different way than I can. Sure. And so having those creative ideas is so valuable for me.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, cool. Well, thanks for joining us today. And if people want to connect with you, they want to find you somewhere, what's the best way to find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at the Rich Fiola, Feola, for my personal brand page, talking about our advisory program. That website is ad-visory.com, kind of a play on words for visionary ad agency coaching. That's ad-visory.com. And then if you want to check out my ad agency, Solar Exclusive is the brand, that's solarexclusive.com. But definitely follow me on Instagram and check out ad-visory.com if you want to learn about how to scale your ad agency. And if you're just a business owner that isn't an ad agency, but you want to glean some insights on how I generated over 120 million in revenue in just the last few years, you can check out ninefiguresecrets.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rich.
Thanks, Austin.
Thank you all for joining us today. This is Better Business with Austin Zelan, and we'll see you on the next episode.